Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy, and I'm going to report on my latest energy attempts. So I said in one or two of my last videos that I had intended to sit down and try again with connecting with the earth energy, and if anything of note happened, I would come on and share it. I don't know if it's necessarily of note in terms of like something incredible happening or anything like that, but it kind of, my experience sort of illustrates what happens with me personally in terms of just, sometimes one thing works and sometimes it doesn't. And I don't, I don't know if that's, I don't know why that is. I should say that. I don't know why that is. It could easily be from lack of consistency on my part, but I feel almost as though sometimes when I'm being blocked from something, that being blocked is a form of communication, and a form of communication I'm not getting, and I'm not fully grasping. So unfortunately, I am often, and I don't think this is going to change anytime soon, I am often fairly tired when I sit down and attempt this, or lay down, as I sometimes will do. And so what I did, and it was actually later than I even expected on that day, it's 2 nights ago now, so it would have been Friday night, when I finally sat down to do a little searching energy-wise. And of course I have to yawn. Of course. So I felt like I was kind of in the middle of my body. It's like I couldn't really reach down, I couldn't really reach up, and certainly down was not happening. Even the more dramatic, like, attempt to plunge, or even kind of a spiraling action, like down to the core, that was so successful last time. Or it's kind of like my dragon power animal kind of helped me and went down, but it's like the energy wasn't wanting to come up, or what is in the past had been the lava was not wanting to come up. There was like, did not want to make contact, or didn't want to do that, and I was just, I was tired. It's like, how much am I going to try to do this? And I thought, the last time, I think what I did first was that I actually released, because I felt like there was something in my body was sort of blocking energy one way or the other. So I started to kind of release, and I thought, but then I think what I did was I brought some of the white light energy, or that upper level energy, down, and let that just sort of push anything negative or not good for me down, and just flush out. And so the weirdest thing, because I've been able to do that, reach up or go up and connect with that energy, has not been a problem. But when I went up to my crown chakra, this area, it opened. It opened. It's like, no, we're hollow in here, we're not doing anything. And it just opened like an observatory, and a telescope kind of peeked out. I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to get from that? I don't know. I still don't know. But one thing I did get from it was, alright, so this is kind of not the route I'm supposed to take. This is not going to happen the way it has happened in the past. Something has changed, and I didn't have the patience or the energy to kind of figure it out. I kind of, I thought, am I supposed to be like gathering, because of course the telescope does gather light. Or I don't know if it's just like a new challenge put in the way, I don't know. But, so I just was like, all right, you have your little observatory up there, that's fine. We're going to go back down. Go back down and try to connect to the earth. And so the dragon totem was, power animal was there, and kind of perched on top of the energy that was coming up, and the energy that was coming up was kind of a thin, not as broad or strong of a, I'm forgetting something that happened the day before, but I'll finish this and then I'll tell you what happened. Yeah, because this was actually a morning. This part was actually a morning. I was still out of it because I am in the morning. I'm a zombie in the morning. That was an attempt to counteract the tiredness thing. So the dragon was there, but it had its wings out, like where I live. The mockingbirds do this. They do this thing to create shade where they're kind of hunting for bugs. And so it had its wings out and extended and bowed. And so what then happened was that instead of the lava coming up as a bow or making any attempt, so I'm trying to think in terms of bringing this energy up into my body. But instead what it did was it created a dome. So it came up and it was making no attempt to enter. There was none of that. It was a dome that came up, the dragon just disappears, but it came up as a big dome, and I had my feet in a V, my legs in a V, and I felt it a little bit in my legs, but I really felt the heat in my feet. And I don't know that I did anything other than just sort of observe what was happening and thinking, well, this is interesting. Didn't know what to take of that. And what I'm reminded of what happened the evening before, so that would have been yesterday morning that I had this experience I'm talking about now. It shows you my memory. My memory is shot from the Lyme disease, but I still had tingly, like warmth in my hands. And so what had happened the previous evening, just to make this confusing, what had happened the previous evening was I had sat down again, like I said, really tired, not being able to really connect to the earth energy in a conscious way. As Aline says, I'm sure to some extent I'm connected all the time, but I feel like there is some weakening or blockage from any variety of reasons. And so I have a little cluster of celestite, and I thought, I have my celestite, and so obviously that's earth energy, so I decided to put it between my legs, and the idea was I was going to just put my hands over it and kind of use it to connect, communicate, whatever you want to say. So I did that, set it down, and put my hands over it, and my hands got all tingly and warm, and I've never had that happen. I know I've seen people say, you put your hands and you feel the energy. It's like I've never felt the energy. But this time I did. Not in a sense, some people say like you can feel resistance from it. I didn't feel that. I just felt tingling and warmth in my hands. Definitely warmth in my hands. And so there was a point at which I kind of did a scooping action and sort of brought it into my sacral area. But, you know, did anything happen? No, nothing happened that I'm aware of. So I don't remember anything else happening. I've got some notes here, but yeah, nothing happened there. I will say that and I can't remember why this is why. Well, I guess I did at one point get the that earth energy is what I'm calling it at this point into my hip area, and I've had a lot of issues with ovarian cysts, and you know, as many people who've been watching my channel know, I had a hysterectomy, but I left my ovaries. Well, and now my ovaries are giving me trouble, and probably they have always given me trouble, but you know, we tend to blame the larger organ, you know, it's that uterus doing it. And yes, I had big issues with the uterus, that's why it had to come out, large tumors. But I hadn't realized the extent to which my ovaries were, I'm assuming produce is the right word, I really don't know, producing cysts. And so, I guess it would have been a couple years. This last summer, I went to see a doctor and said, you know, I've got some color, I'm showing something. Why would I be, you know, bleeding down there? And she said, well, now then I learned about the cysts. Ovaries can produce cysts, and then they burst, and that'll create bloating, and it'll be released, and it's like wonderful. And so I went, and I had to have an ultrasound done and everything. They said, no, there's nothing critically wrong in there. And so this has been going. My recent experience has been for at least 3 weeks. I've had very noticeable I don't know, I just call it color coming from that area. It's certainly not bleeding, but it, you know, stuff that shouldn't be happening, and it's the cysts. I know it's the cysts now. It's my ovaries producing cysts for their entertainment, I suppose. I don't know. And I will say this, that over the last couple of days, after having done these exercises, that does seem to have tapered off. But I didn't experience anything physically that I was particularly aware of. So back to the morning with the dragon in the dome. So even when I got up that morning, my hands were still quite warm, and I'm not somebody who normally has warm hands or warm feet. And when I was kind of on the dome, my feet got warm. I could feel it slightly in my legs, but it was mainly my feet remained quite warm. And so that was interesting. I don't know what to think of that, or whether I'll even experience it again, just because my experiences tend to be very inconsistent. Yes, I did really connect with, I can't, you know, to say Pele. So the first time last fall, last summer, when I had the experience of like a huge amount of lava just coming when I connected, when I tried bringing up stuff from the earth, it just like took over and was problematic. It was a scary sort of a thing, and so I kind of cut it off and didn't get it. And Lisa of the Tarot Alchemist said to me, commented when that happened, she said, it must be Pele trying to connect with you. And I thought, well, you know, I kind of overdid it. I'm not one that particularly attempts to connect with, let alone worship, any personification, I would say, personification of a deity. I'm not, it's just a character thing, it's just not my character. And so I thought it was a great way to put a positive spin on it. So I really appreciated her saying that, and that maybe I was overreacting, and maybe I just needed to look at it a little differently. And so this time I did, in fact, feel like there was a presence associated with this lava dome. I honestly did. And I can say Pele just as, you know, it's the only personification of any sort of lava volcano kind of a thing that, you know, so whether a Pele would in the Hawaiian culture from where she, you know, that deity comes from, whether she would ever be in, you know, have this sort of situation occur, I have no idea. So I'm just attaching that name to this experience because I experience this energy coming up as lava, and I associate that name with that sort of energy. Without really knowing anything about Pele. So I'll just say the lava goddess. So we have power animals. Maybe we could say the lava power person, the lava spirit guide. Seemed to be there. And then there was a point at which, you know, I'm sitting there kind of with my hands hovering over the celestite, the little celestite cluster. And I feel like there's hands just coming up to offer, like the hands have this, in my notes I put lava flower, you know, very red. And I kind of was thinking, even in the moment, to some extent, of, you know, I need to get like a red jasper sphere or something like that. In any case, this came up, and I made kind of an attempt to receive it and kind of direct it to my root chakra, actually, instead of the sacral chakra as I had done the day before. So that was an interesting experience. These humanoid presences, when you do this sort of thing, always surprise me. When I did what I was thinking of as theta healing, the going up to kind of request healing, or actually it isn't request. With theta healing, I think it's like a demand that, you know, you be healed. I just figured I was going to be in an area with white light, like a brightly lit, translucent room or something, and the first time it was essentially like that to the extent that I could perceive it. But, you know, eventually it was populated. That area was populated. It still kind of freaks me out. And, you know, it's very outside my understanding of things. So so that was, I've kind of gotten used to that. But then bringing up the lava and having some presence there was, again, it was like, all right. I'm not as shocked as I was with the other, because that I was, that was really weird. And that, so this was a little bit less so, just because, all right, I had the weird experience going to the light. So, all right, so now I'm having that coming with the lava. I have a lava woman. And there were some interesting images that came along with that, the lava dome. So what it was a lava dome with the black crust on it, kind of like you would see, and that there's the lava, the molten lava underneath. And an image that came with it was like that black stuff coming over my legs. And this wasn't something that I felt was actually happening, but that there was a potential. If I wanted to invite that to happen, that could happen. And then if that were to happen, that it would burn away. So there was this thing that it would burn away all of the excess, nasty, whatever, and then the crust would fall away, and it's like I would have new legs. So, but I didn't pursue that, and I didn't quite know what to think of that, and so I didn't say, yeah, bathe my legs in lava, and so I'll be curious to see what happens next time. Maybe I will never have that experience again. I don't know. Again, my experiences tend to be very inconsistent. Another thing I did before ending that particular exercise, so I guess I did two things. So as I was feeling just sort of ready to end the whole lava experience, I remembered that in my earth cards, my extraordinary earth cards, that I had pulled one that had a rainbow, mountain with a rainbow, and I had thought, in looking at it, I thought, what, when I pull down the light, I think maybe I'll pull down multicolored light. Usually it's the white light. So maybe it's that rainbow. And I also thought of, in the cards that I pulled for March, was Iris. Iris being the rainbow and communication. So so I did that just as an exercise. I just brought the rainbow down, and then, I let, the violet light settle here, and the dark blue, or whatever you want to call it, light here, and then, so I just let the light just sort of settle, and I think they all became flowers, they all became flowers in their space, so that was pleasant. Again, no other experience particularly except that, the visual. And then the last thing that I did was that the idea of the energetic boundary, I wanted to practice that some more. And so I kind of imagined that rose kind of just past my feet, and just sort of, this tends to be mental. I really don't see very much. Just saying anything that's not mine, not my energy, depart. Your place is out there, other side of the rose. Anything that is mine, that's out there, that needs to return, come back. And you know what I didn't have? Again, I didn't have the sun. Well, I started with the sun, what was called the personal sun. But what I found was these the wispy things that seem to come when I'm doing this just kind of went in there and seemed to get lost. And so instead I went back to the whole lava thing and did like a lava layer of lava, because my previous thing, with the legs and stuff kind of was like a purification. And that's my understanding of the idea of the personal sun, and having those parts come back through that personal sun is a part, sort of a purification. And that seemed to work. I did feel like things were returning through that, and not getting lost in it, but actually connecting. Did I have any particularly extraordinary experiences? No. Other than, it's pretty much all bizarre. But one thing I have found is that my bear totem animal has become very strong and very powerful. And when I did just and shows up in that way, shows up just huge and assertive and powerful, which has not always been the case. And so when I was doing that, anything that's not mine, the other side of the rose. And I do love that imagery. That's what I had, the strongest sense that I had during that experience, going back, was that the bear was there with me. That the bear was sitting there. Yeah, that's right. Go to the other side of that rose. Kind of a thing. Backing me up, sort of a thing. So it was, and there are other, when I've sort of reached out to bear in the past few months, that's what I get, is this big, not just your average black bear, just a massive black bear. No, not black bear, grizzly bear, just massive. Which works for me. I consider that a good thing. For some reason, I almost feel like what I've been doing and what I've been attempting to do is somehow empowering my power animals for what it's worth, and who knows what that means for me personally. I'm not sure what that means for me personally. Was there something else I was going to say? I thought that there was. It wasn't in connection with this. But now I can't remember what it is. So I'm going to let it go, because we're almost at 30 minutes. And thank you very much, anyone who cares to watch this, what seems like crazy talk, but I don't know what is a worthwhile dimension of experience for me. And we'll see where it goes. I definitely need to do it more consistently, and I'm not sure how to track results, because I think some of the results tend to be very subtle. But anyway, there you go. My attempts at whatever you want to call this, raising earth energy, shamanic. It isn't really a shamanic journey. There's not that process going on, but there are certainly shamanic elements to it. Anyway, take care, and I will see you again in maybe about a week. All right, bye-bye.